Welcome to Inspired Edinburgh. Powerful conversations helping you reconnect with your purpose. I'm Elliot Reeves and my guest today is the Motivational Queen, Zoe Bennett. Zoe is the founder of Training Personified, an organisation that delivers workshops and mentoring to businesses to ensure that customers, internal and external, are provided with the best customer service at all times. You've won a number of international awards, you're a humanitarian and a motivational speaker. Zoe, it's an absolute honour to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. As I said to you before we started, I've heard a bit about your story, and it's just truly remarkable. So I'm really looking forward to finding out a bit more and having a good conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it also.
Good. So I suppose if we can start at the very beginning, where you kind of grew up, what you were like growing up, and I suppose what were your kind of growing up environment was like.
Wow, gosh. Well, growing up, I was fortunate enough to have one of the most amazing men in my life, which was my father.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just such a kind, giving, selfless individual. And he taught me all those attributes. And for me, I thought life was like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got older and I had to go out into the big bad world on my own,
Mm-hmm.
I realised it actually wasn't like that. However, I didn't want to change the way I was thinking, how he actually instilled certain values within myself. So I just carried on, just trying to emulate and just live up to this amazing being that
Mm-hmm.
he was, and
Mm-hmm.
he is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So I mean, where were you educated? What was your kind of education process like?
Wow. Well, my education was kind of slightly different. I went to a fantastic primary school. However, it was really bizarre because I only realised when I was in my not even my teens, my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
One of the children had a nickname. They were mixed race, and even the teachers called them this name.
Oh.
And it was Cooney.
Oh, wow.
So,
geez.
and but we didn't know this, obviously, until I was in my, and I thought back, hold on a minute, the lad that I used to call him that, and it was acceptable, and the teachers would call him that, everyone would call him that. That was his nickname. So so it was a kind of bizarre thing. Then I was sent to go to a really good high school,
Mm-hmm.
but it was predominantly white children there. I was
Okay.
one of the only black females in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on through the years there was a further 2 black females, and that was it. And my brother was one of 2 black males at the time when I was there, so
Mm-hmm.
it's a different experience.
Yeah.
But it was okay. I've experienced racism, but to me it was normal. I was called, I actually thought, to be fair, growing up I thought I was a Paki because I was called Paki that often.
Seriously?
I actually thought I was,
Oh my God.
to be fair.
Yeah.
Genuinely. So it was a shock to me to find out, actually, that I wasn't.
God, yeah.
So it sounds awful, and you can laugh at it now, and looking back, because that's how ignorant as children we are to all this. And obviously the children calling at me were ignorant, because
Exactly.
if they thought about it and they knew any better, they'd know that actually, nah.
Yeah.
But sticks and stones,
Yes.
how it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gee, okay. What do you think your aspirations were when you were growing up? Where did you see yourself as an adult?
I saw myself just beating my dad, because he retired just around the age of 40.
Seriously?
To be able to, he actually ended up having his own upholstery business after working years for a really good company, doing international trade, doing Chesterfields and all the leather suites like these suites here. And he used to do it in his workshop at the back of our house, at a workshop there. And it was just, I used to travel around with him. So I just wanted to also learn the craft of property, because he used to do up properties and then move on to the next. And he always taught me that your pension was in your property.
Okay.
So when I got into my 20s, I realised that, do you know something? I am going to buy a house and then give myself £20 a week spending money, even though I had a good job. And I realised that I don't want to pay this interest. I don't like the interest. I want to keep my interest.
Yeah.
So that's why I paid it all off and then just paid my house off. So yeah,
Wow.
you know, it's a good stead. And it allowed me freedom to do lots of different things.
Of course.
But that was after I was told when I was at high school by the teacher that I'd amount to be nothing.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, but in the end, yes, I might have acted the clown for a little while because my identity was shot. I didn't know who I was, being called all different names, and you know, and having to go through being treated differently, and it used to bother me a little bit, but not too much. It bothered me to a point, but then, you know, as kids, you're resilient, you move on. But then my teachers sent the estimated grades to the colleges. In my day, you send the estimated grades, saying that I'd get Fs and Us. So I was in Preston, Lancashire, where I was born, but I couldn't get in any college because of the estimated grades. But when my actual exams came around, I got A's, B's and C's,
Right.
and just a D in maths, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it was too late. So I had to move
Okay.
to Nottingham, People's College, just to get in to do not even the course I wanted to do.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you study?
I studied when I went down there, I was doing Italian and and Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah. So the things I didn't want to do, and trying to do languages, and I can't remember what the actual main course was. There was the main course, but it was that insignificant because I got so sick I couldn't finish it. So 5 months into the actual course, I had to leave Nottingham and move back to Preston. And when I got better, it was a month later, I decided I want to go back to college. So I did business administration.
Okay.
So everybody else had a head start on me now. And they started in the September, I was there in the February. And by the time it came around, when the course finished, out of 24 people that started, and before me as well included, only 4 people completed and passed, not just passed, completed and passed. Yeah, only 4 people. And out of those 4 people, I was one of them. Amazing. So that's the moment when I said, I am not defined by what other people think of me, and I choose to push myself forward based on what I believe I can do, as opposed to someone validating me. So that changed everything. My attitude, my confidence levels just went straight out the roof. No one could tell me anything anymore. You know, I believed, I can do it. You know what? Because I didn't study. I didn't study for anything. Even at school, I didn't study to get those grades. Yeah. So if I'd studied, imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and the same with for me, the college course was common sense. So it wasn't a case of studying it. It was a case of common sense. Yeah. But that is an attribute from my dad. From my dad teaching me common sense all the way growing up, this is where it came to. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love the sort of motivational aspect of it as well, the self-belief, which is so important, and I can see how your earlier years might have dented that. So yeah, that's amazing. When did your, I suppose, kind of entrepreneurial journey start, if you like?
Well, I was actually happy to work for organisations because it's steady income. Absolutely, and safety aspects. And to be fair, I fell into it by accident. 100% fell into it all by accident because of the incidents and everything that happened with my father. Yeah. I was just happy because when I was at my first job, yes, I've started full time, remained full time, but I also put myself through university at the same time. So in order to do that, I had to change my shifts. So I worked a 9 till 9 shift, and I worked a half day shift. So on a Monday, full 9 till 9, Tuesday, half shift, and a Wednesday, 9 till 9. So I was doing full-time hours, but cramming them. So I could then go to university at the same time and do my master's in tourism management. And I actually completed that. So yeah, and I just, from there, I got a job with the Jamaica Tourist Board. Very well paid, and great pension scheme. So this pension that my dad tells me about, pension's so important. So I thought, the pension was the thing that swung it for me. It's like, so, and it was great. I got to go out to Jamaica several times a year as well and take agents out there. And I did a whole host of roles within the Jamaica Tourist Board within my one role. So within
Brilliant.
the one role, I'd train travel agents, I'd take them out to Jamaica, I'd put events on for them, I'd go and do call visits to them to see how they do, account manage, sales and marketing, anything you could think of, I was doing it because I was the face of Jamaica at that time. So
Wow.
it was interesting. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the security.
Yeah.
So yeah.
When do you think that shifted?
Well, that shifted when I was forced for it to be shifted.
Okay.
You know, as much as I believed in myself and no one defined me, I never believed I was good enough in my own mind, intellectually.
Okay, yeah.
I believe I can hustle. I can believe I'm streetwise. I believe I can get through any situation, any common sense situation. I've always believed that. Yeah, and that's where I felt invincible. But when it came to intelligence level, even though I'd got a master's and everything else, I still doubted myself on my intelligence level. And so I didn't push forward to do anything for myself. I was happy and comfortable in the situation I was in.
Yeah.
So as a result of, unfortunately, my dad went over because he was living here in England, and we had a property in Jamaica, a 7-bedroomed property, 5 bathrooms,
Gee.
3 huge reception areas where the local police and the church would come and have their functions there. And my dad, being a community spirited man, would do it for free of charge. Because a little bit about my dad, he actually started the first ever West Indian Caribbean Community Centre in Preston, Lancashire. And that was in my grandmother's living room. So it was just, so that's the background that I came from my dad's side of things. I just believe that everyone just helps everyone else. So I was networking, not knowing I was networking.
Yes.
So I was always connecting people. I was always knowing someone who knew somebody else. And my dad knew the whole world, it felt like it. He knew people from Germany, wherever it was, because they used to come and stay over at the property in Jamaica. Because from the balcony, it's got a sea view. On the balcony, there's a place where you can see the endemic bird species. There's 3 endemics. There was 27 endemics, and you can see 3 of those only from the balcony of this villa that we had over there.
Wow.
So it's just beautiful. And so we had lots of different Eastern Europeans coming through because they love the twitchers, they call them, the birding.
What's that?
That's
Is that right? Okay.
That's the name for bird enthusiasts. They're called twitchers.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So
What's Jamaica like?
Jamaica's beautiful. It's a gorgeous island. I would recommend anyone who wants to go and experience a beautiful island and have a holiday. It's gorgeous.
Is it?
My dad was very patriotic and he loved Jamaica.
Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously, a lot of your personal story, if you like, is about what happened with your father, and I've heard the story, and it's really it's so moving. I wondered if you could maybe give us an idea of what led up to that and ultimately what kind of happened. Yeah.
So my dad went over, and I was due to go over as well, a meeting at the same time. And literally last minute, and everyone else knew my movements, that I was meant to be there, that I changed it, but we didn't tell anybody that I changed it because to us it wasn't that important. And unfortunately, the day I was meant to arrive there, a few people broke in to burglarise the property, and obviously to also attack and take us out at the same time. And but didn't find me there, obviously, but found my dad there, and my dad had a friend there, a lady friend at the time, and my dad was murdered. It was a long, drawn-out murder, 13 stab wounds, front and back, part of his cheek bitten off, part of his head chopped off with a machete. So and the woman, they tried to take her head off, but she survived it. So
My God.
So but literally they were hoping that I was there because they'd have had access to the property if they got rid of us both, and that's it. There's free for all on the property and the vehicles. So
My God.
There you go.
How did you find out about it?
Found out. I didn't find out he was murdered straight away. A phone call came in to say your dad's been stabbed. Okay, So, and that was literally it. But the phone just kept going, so I just couldn't get through to speak to whoever I wanted to speak to. So I thought, okay, he's just been stabbed. Fine, I'll just go and get over there and be with him and nurse him through it. So I decided to go to Facebook and let my family know, because my dad had lots of brothers and sisters, and so has my mum got lots of brothers and sisters. So like 10 and 9 brothers either side, so that's like almost 19, and then all the family. So you can't just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And the phone line was busy anyway. So I went to just let them know, but I didn't get to type anything yet. And all of a sudden, randomly, there was this news article on there from On the Ground News, which was OGNR at the time. And it said, 59-year-old man bludgeoned to death in his villa. And I looked at the house. That's my house. And I'm like, when I read it and it said his name, I was like, no, that can't be him. And I kept reading it, and I knew it was my dad. And all I could hear somebody outside. It felt like somebody outside shrieking, and I realised it was myself. I was screaming that loud. That I didn't even, I was like, I was hearing somebody else screaming, but I was frozen. And so as I'm there reading this, I'm now typing, my father has been murdered in Jamaica this morning. Yeah? And then someone instantly writes back, oh my gosh, Zoe, what's happened? I says, the police are slow on the uptake. The bastards have killed my father. And then they said, be safe. And I says, yeah, don't worry, I'll be safe. I'll have one eye open, meaning because it was early in the hours of the morning when they killed him. So it's not going to catch me like that.
Yeah.
I was 5 months pregnant at the time as well.
Really?
Yeah, when all this was happening. So I got the first flight over there, and I was met off the plane by the Director General of Jamaica. No, oh my gosh, oh I'm sorry, father's murdered. First words are, the Minister of Tourism is in uproar. And there's me thinking, oh, uproar, okay, he's upset that my dad's dead. No, because I wrote what I wrote on Facebook and used the word Jamaica. So by saying, my father has been murdered in Jamaica this morning, I've defamed the country.
Oh my, I mean, like, it's just ridiculous. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I just dismissed it in my head, because to me, I just want to go and sort out, get to my dad's body.
Of course.
So I went straight up there, and I had to put security on the house to make sure that nothing was looted out, because that's what just normally happens. So I paid for security to do that. And yeah, the police handed the house back to me in the exact same state the crime happened. So you can see all the drag marks, all the blood stains, all the footprints through the blood. You can see, you can see splatter marks everywhere. You can just see this where he was trying to claw himself out. Every time you can see where he got to any exit points. But then, obviously, then the 2 pools of blood that they had him lying in. So they dragged him from one area to another, bleeding to death. And when the post-mortem came, it wasn't the stab wounds that killed him. It was bleeding out that killed him. So he was going through all that pain till the end. So it's a tough one. So I just did what I had to do. I started taking pictures of the crime scene, told everyone to step away, making sure I was bagging things up. And because I knew in my mind, I'm going to find whoever's done this, and when I find them, I need the evidence. It's too late if I find them and there's nothing there. So I knew full well that just in case they didn't do the job right, I'm going to do this. So I did. So I took samples of the blood, I took pictures of the footsteps, I took pictures of them, everything you can think of. And once I'd done that, I cleaned it all up and started throwing everything over the balcony, ready to burn everything, because I'd be damned if anyone was going to be walking around the streets or sitting on any piece of furniture or eating off any plate or using a microwave, walking in his clothes, walking in his shoes. And I'd just bought in 8 pairs of Clark shoes that month before as well. So, but yeah, I'd give all the Clark shoes back just to have him back, So yeah, but absolutely everything that I smashed, things I couldn't burn, I smashed. And the irony is that my dad had a compressor, which was his, and there was some vultures, you know, they just prey, waiting to try and thieve things.
Yeah.
They phoned the police, phoned the police and said that my dad had taken it from him and they want it back. And the police came to the house. They didn't come to the house when my dad called them on the I got his phone, I got his mobile phone as evidence also, and he dialed the Moreton Bay police station. Where were the police then? But they came straight away when someone said that a compressor's been stolen, when actually, in fact, it's my dad's own. So they were just trying to capitalise on his murder. So, yeah. So, in the end, I managed to sort everything out. This was at Christmas time as well, so everything was shutting down. So I had to get his body back. So I sent him a day earlier ahead of myself. And unfortunately, they lost his body. Cooperative was the funeral home that came down to come and pick him up because I paid them to sort everything out. The England side, I paid a funeral home in Jamaica, and they're liaising with one another. And they came down to Gatwick and they went back up to Preston without my dad's body. So I had to pay for them to return. When I eventually found my dad, I did all the calling. I found him in Cargo, and they came back down and charged me for it, and I just paid it because I just couldn't bother.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gee, I mean, what an unbelievable ordeal to have to go through. What ultimately happened with the defamation of country charge?
Well, that went on forever. So as soon as I landed, remember I was meant to be on annual leave, I was going to be with my dad, so I'd already booked the time off. So I still had one more day of annual leave. So ironically, I didn't have to ask for annual leave to go and sort my dad's body out because I was already off. So I had one more day before I had to be back. But when I was in Jamaica, I went to the head office, the Jamaica Tourist Board, and told them what happened. They said, yeah, we'll support you, whatever you need. They said you can have the time off. It's just a formality to get your regional director to sign it off when you get back to England. So when I landed, I got an email from her saying, Zoe, when are you back at work? So I sent one straight back saying, I'm with the police, because the law in England is that you have to re-identify a body when a body comes back into the UK. So I went and did that. So I had to re-identify my dad's body. When I got back that same day, had a email saying that I'd been suspended and I cannot have annual leave. And I must come down to that office that same week to discuss all this matter. Bearing in mind it was the day after my dad's funeral. And they said, if you don't come, then there's going to be further charges against you. So what happened then, I handed it over to my union boss, and whatever happened from there, I had no control over. I didn't go to the press, because I was too busy sorting my dad's funeral out.
Yeah.
Next day, it was in the Daily Mail. Yeah. So, and then they sent me a letter saying I've now, they charged me now with disclosure. So, and then every time an article was written, and it's like the poor girl or the poor man, or, you know, I was being charged every single time with any article, even though it wasn't me that was the source of the story, to the point I went to every single journalist that wrote their stories about me, my dad, anything. I got statements from them all to say that I was not the source of the story, and they still wouldn't accept it. Yeah. And remember, I was pregnant as well.
Yeah.
Now the stress was actually killing me at this stage. I was having problems. I was hospitalised for over a week, and they were still coming after me to go to occupational health. When it came to the employment tribunal, they actually, when it was documented, which is in the archive, I can actually speak about it now because I won the case eventually.
All
So it's
right.
in the public domain.
Yeah.
They'd put the time I was on annual leave said I was off sick leave, so in order for them to be able to push forward on the occupational, so they kept pushing and trying to break me that way. And there was so many, I was bombarded by the solicitors' letters over and over again. I've got a whole list of how many times that they just kept harassing me with these letters. It was awful, absolutely awful. You know, they may not call it harassment, but when you're grieving and then you're on maternity leave and you're not left alone even with in your maternity leave, just constantly bombarded.
Yeah.
You know, I even had the victim support send a letter saying, can you please stop? And they still wouldn't stop writing letters to me. I had trauma therapists writing letters, and they said, please, can you stop emailing her, sending her letters? Can you just leave her be? They still wouldn't stop. Would not stop. So to the point it went to employment tribunal, and I won on all counts, and they paid me out. So there you go. And even the High Commissioner of Jamaica testified against me. And they still lost.
My word. I mean, it's obviously so much emotionally to have to digest everything that you've been through. How have you been able to cope with it?
Because I'm one of these people that I don't fall down when bullies are around me. When I feel bullied, when I'm feeling bullied, it strengthens me. And the reason why it strengthens me is because I don't want nobody else to go through the feeling that I'm feeling at that moment in time. Mm-hmm. And the only way to rectify that is to stand up and be counted and put your foot down. Otherwise, it's going to carry on going on and on and on until somebody stops it. And that's it. Mm-hmm. And my dad was that kind of person. He was a pioneer of all that. So he had already instilled that in me. Mm-hmm. That you do not, if someone's trying to pull you down when you're weak and vulnerable, mm-hmm. and they're trying to use your weakness against you, mm-hmm. and have no compassion against you, you have to stand up for what is right. Mm-hmm. And that was it. So the more they pushed, thinking that I'm going to get weaker, the more it gave me strength. Mm. And my dad taught me to take emotion out of situations. He taught me how to put passion into situations. Mm-hmm. And that put me in good stead, because when it came to the court case and all the things leading up to it, I was very mm-hmm. calm and collected and wrote everything, articulated everything, structured everything. And it wasn't coming from a place of emotion. Mm-hmm. It was coming from a place of facts, because I'd always documented everything along the way. Yeah. So I let the facts speak for themselves. Uh-huh. You know, and when I started a university course in South Bank University, estate management, and within that there was law, so it taught me things like res ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself, and those kind of things. So, you know, only the facts speak, not your emotion, you know, and reasonable behaviour is what the courts look at. They don't look at anything else but being reasonable. So was I reasonable in giving them time to respond? Was I reasonable in the amount of evidence I put forward? Was I reasonable in in what I was making, the points at what they were doing and how they were doing it to me, how they were making, you know. So I was always in a learned place. So I took time, I stepped back every time, and I didn't react. I learned to respond, and I learned to sleep on things. Because when you sleep on it, you actually get more time to actually keep replaying it and actually fine-tuning what actually the incident is and where you're at. And that was it. Yeah.
Jeez. You're an incredible person, Zoe. The amount of inner strength and courage that you have to go through that, but do what you're doing now is it's truly remarkable. Your public speaking, the Motivational Queen, when did that sort of start, and what was the journey that led towards that?
Well, ironically, I went to a 4 networking meeting, and it was probably my 3rd or 4th meeting I went to, and Brad Burton came and was a speaker. Mm-hmm. And when we had a one-to-one, it's like one thing him coming, then to have a one-to-one. Yeah. You know, what are the chances on the first ever time? And I just shared a little bit of what I was going through, because that was the time when the murder trial was going on, and I was having the death threats and everything. And we managed to win from my MP stepping in and helping me out. Mm-hmm. So at that time I was like, you know, I was at a loss what to do, because I just won that case as well. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying to him, I'm at a crossroads here, and I'd explained about what happened. He goes, "Oh my gosh, that story needs to get out." Yeah. I says, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, why?" He says, "Because it will help people. You don't know what that story will do." Yeah. But then I'm like, but how do I say this story? Because it's kind of gruesome. Mm. You know? So I had that conversation afterwards with myself, but he really encouraged me to do that. So from there I did a foresight, just started foresighting. And to be fair, I only did about 2 foresights on it. Mm-hmm. And then people wanted to hear me. And then I went on 4 networking television. And that went on YouTube. And then a movie producer from America contacted me and wanted to do my documentary. And I was in discussions, but in the end I decided not to do that, because I wanted to keep control of my story and the way it needs to be and the way I want it to be. Yeah. I don't want anyone else gearing it. Mm-hmm. So I just decided not to. And from there, I just spoke in schools, but the way I did it, because I'm very business minded, and I've got so much experience in all aspects of business, except for maths, I'm rubbish. In all aspects of I have to put that in there, disclaimer, maths. That I started blending it with life lessons about having a great mentor, about pushing yourself, about striving, about being uniquely you, being and setting an example for others, taking the time to not rush things, you know, and to be strategic. It's the same whether in life or in business. So these lessons I could teach from a place of knowing, not a theoretical place, you know. And I would do the young adults Juniper training, for instance, and I would do goal setting with them, but blending how you need to learn to, when you see people laughing at you in a classroom environment, it's not you technically they're laughing at, really deep down. The reason why they're doing that is the case of they're shifting it from themselves because they're insecure with themselves. So the only way they can shift that away from themselves is to make fun of somebody else. So I teach young children that, do you know something, when you see and hear the next time someone laughs, just, you have the last laugh and just laugh under your breath like, I know exactly where that is. You're really an insecure person.
Yeah.
So that actually strengthens me. You're now strengthened because now you're in a place of knowing, and you're one step ahead of them. And you know that actually there's something good about you because they're using you, because they have to look for the person that has got it all to try and pull them down, to bring them back up. So actually that means there's something special about you when they're laughing at you. And when they're looking at that, I'm like, wow, yeah. And it just makes them feel that actually they're not afraid now to put their hand up in class. They're not afraid to have their viewpoint because they realise that actually it's more about the person who's acting a clown, who's literally trying to be mean, is their issue. And it needs to remain their issue, not theirs. They need to focus on what they want, because these people, unless they change the way that they are going to stay there. Whereas you push forward, you're going to go places. And if you dream big, and don't worry about making mistakes, because failure is success in disguise. And I teach them all this, and that you really do, in order to be successful, you do have to make mistakes. So don't worry about it. It's a learning from it that makes you successful. You know? So yeah.
I love your passion and your energy. It's so good. That's absolutely brilliant. Good stuff. So when did you start your own business then?
Well, I started it towards the end of the murder trial, because this is when I was getting the death threats, and I thought, well, what the hell? If I'm going to die, why not start something? I actually did, because I had a letter, was summoned over by the government of Jamaica, that I had to come over to Jamaica, and obviously the MP and everyone knew that obviously I was having death threats, because that was actually recorded over here, and the police sent evidence to the Foreign Office, and even with that evidence they still summoned me to go. So that Christmas, it was 2014, I got the letter by mail, which the Foreign Office here forwarded on to me from them, and so I just resigned myself that I'm going to die, and I said goodbye, literally, not just bye-bye, like to my children, and I just knew I was spending my last Christmas with them and my partner. Everyone was trying to talk me out of it over the Christmas. I was like, no, there's no way, I'm not going to go. And it was when I got back in January, when the holidays were over, my MP stepped in and said, this is not happening, and he chaired a meeting for me at the Foreign Office. And from there, the court case went ahead, and one of the murderers got 40 years to life without parole.
Really?
Yeah, so it was in that time, when was just around that time of the death threats, I decided to start up my company. Why not? Over the Christmas, I thought, why not? I want to leave a legacy for my children, start something. Not realising that business, it takes a while for it to pick up, you know. But I was in a zone that anything was possible, even though I know I was checking out of life. So for me, the way I see life is probably different than everyone else, because unless you've been there, unless you've made peace with yourself, to be happy to die, and you've literally checked out of life, there is no going back. That's why I do so many things for other people. That's why I do so many things for the confidence building, for instance. I do for women from human trafficking, sex trafficking, domestic violence, honour-based violence, FGM, and I do try to boost them, because for me, my life no longer is about me. My life is about just being that role model so people can emulate and do better, and set an example that will help. If I go at the time, that my children will grow up in a good world, you know. So I don't fear death. I don't fear anything like that. I just fear that people don't learn and don't help one another. And that's what I fear. And so that's why I try my best to even do the MBCC awards and all these things. And that's the reason, and I do what I do.
Oh, okay. What you said there is really interesting, being at peace with your own death. Not many people are comfortable with their own mortality. And I don't think many people actually, most people probably go through life relatively unconsciously, or think that the time that they have is eternal and that there's always tomorrow. Like, what would you say to those types of people?
Do you know something? It's not a bad place to be. I actually wouldn't mind being in that place, to be fair, because ignorance is bliss to a degree.
Yeah.
And then that means you can live every day to the fullest, you know, thinking that you've got forever, you know. But I don't know, it's just, for me, it's a hard one, because my dad was my heartbeat. He was my everything. He was my best friend. So I'm happy any given time to go and be with my best friend. So, but while I'm here, I'm going for broke. So there's nothing I can't go for and feel I'm going to fail, because in my eyes I'm not failing. So why not go for everything and try and do everything and help everyone? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. That's it. That's my attitude. There's nothing that I can fail at. Nothing. If you feel that failure is success in disguise, you cannot fail at anything. Even when you technically fail.
Yeah. I love that. That's brilliant. Really, really good. What does a sort of day in the life for you look like these days?
Gosh, busy. Busy. I can't even describe it.
Really?
I'm talking all the time.
Yeah.
That's all I do is talk. I even get bored of my own voice. I get sick and tired of hearing myself. Honestly.
Just record it. Just play this on
Gosh,
loop.
no. God, no. Honestly, it's like, just this week alone, it's like done workshops, speaking confidently, and creating content, and delivering to a school of over 200 children on resilience and motivation, and then to the job centre this week on change management and motivation, and then several meetings in between time, and just dealing with the MBCC awards, all the work around that. Also the co-founder of the Removing the Shame and Guilt conference, so dealing with all that and meeting with potential funders and everything else around that. That conference is for women who have or continue to go through physical violence and or emotional abuse. And it's a conference there to come together and realise that you're not alone. And I've created workshops so people can get a taster of confidence building, creativity through crafts, share your story, all those things, what to look out for. I've got charities involved to come along so people can get signposted. And it's only £5, and the £5 we're charging is not even covering the food that we're giving them, but it's just the £5 gesture so we know that they're committed to coming.
Exactly,
but then they get fed at the same time. So, so realistically, they're getting it free, but but we just need the commitment, because it is something that is something serious. We've got the assistant leader of Birmingham City Council, who's on the panel also. We've got Raj Holness from Breaking the Silence, who's on the panel. A few medical professionals on the panel, and we've also got Birmingham City University, who's the host, the venue host. Brilliant. So they're on board, and it's just amazing. We've got various charities, on board too. So Weights charity, we've got Soda, so there's quite a few on board, and Freedom Speaks. So so I'm doing quite a bit. Yeah, there's other things that I'm doing. Oh, I'm on the business board for the NSPCC,
Are
so a
you?
lot going on there too.
Yeah.
I'm an ambassador for the Women and Families Resource Centre.
Yeah.
They've just sorted it out for them just yesterday that they are now the charity that the business networking show, Brad's show,
yes, yeah.
is going to be, they're the designated charity for the Wolverhampton show.
Wow.
So yeah, sorting that out yesterday for them.
Brilliant.
And I'm also a delivering partner for Seek for Change, doing the confidence building workshop. So yeah, constantly busy. And I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. So yeah, juggling those, and a 21-year-old.
Really?
21-year-old, what takes more?
My God.
Yeah.
It's like Superwoman.
Do you know something? I said that to someone actually this week. I said, you might think I'm Superwoman, but I'm not super. But yeah,
like it.
it's mad. It's like, I actually need a cape on the back of me.
Yes. Yeah.
When I'm speaking, I actually feel like I've got wings.
Really?
Seriously. When I was at the job centre, I was literally in it.
Yeah.
I said, I'm invincible. We're all invincible. Put this invisible sphere around you and you can soar. And I'm like, I felt like I was actually floating off the ground. Honestly,
great.
I love it. But yeah, next you'll see me flying through the sky.
Yeah.
Is that a plane? No, it's Zoe B, Motivational Queen. So yeah, that's the next step. I've got to do something bigger and better now, don't I?
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Training Personified, one of the, I suppose, the major focus is about customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you feel organisations fall down on customer service, and what do you think they could do better?
Okay, biggest faux pas is that they forget that the actual employees are internal customers only, also.
Yeah.
So they just focus a lot on the external customers,
Uh-huh.
forgetting that if you look after the internal customers,
Mm-hmm.
they will then, in actual fact, look after the external customers for you.
Yeah.
You know, and investing in your people is key,
Mm-hmm.
and starting from them, and also making them feel like they've got a voice.
Yeah.
People want to feel that they've been heard.
Absolutely.
You know, and even if you don't act upon it, the fact that you've just listened
Mm-hmm.
is enough to get loyalty. If they don't feel some kind of camaraderie, that's where things break down, because then they don't become loyal to your brand, loyal to you, to the organisation, and they don't treat it as if it's their own. When they are treated with utmost respect, they treat it as if it belongs to them, and that's all it is. You know, internal customers as important as external customers.
That is brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. You've obviously had an incredible just journey and everything that you've done. What would you say have been some of the biggest high points for you?
High points. Do you know something? My biggest high point is just being privileged to have met my father.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Nothing else. Yeah, I might have flown around the world, been Australia, America, loads of places, Caribbean, whatever. No. Knowing my dad and having those moments with him, that's my high point.
That's really beautiful thing to say. Yeah. Okay, it's been amazing finding out about your story, and as I say, I mean, your passion and your energy is just absolutely incredible. You light up the room. You can just feel the energy. It's just brilliant. At this stage, I'd really like to probably ask you some of the larger kind of more philosophical topics, which are the ones I enjoy hearing answers to.
Go on then. Throw it at me.
Yeah.
No, everything else is thrown at me.
Yeah, it's true. This show is really about, I suppose, encouraging people to align themselves with a kind of a purpose. What do you feel is your purpose?
My purpose is just to set an example, to show people that stop making excuses, stop blaming others, stop blaming the elements. Things are inevitably going to happen to you, good or bad. Just roll with it and either learn from it or, reflect back on it. Do one or the other. You have to do that. Yeah. You have to be reflective in order to go forward. You can't believe you're the best of everything. If you believe that, then that's again where you're going to fall down.
Yeah.
If you believe that you constantly need to learn and absorb, then you're then humbled, and then you actually then get the things that life throws at you in the good forms. So you're bound to get, if someone picks up a piece of dirt, you're bound to get loads of dirt coming at you, but then you're going to get some precious stones every so often coming at you.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And that's it. And you've got to learn to just duck the dirt and grab the gems. That's it.
That's great. Such a good phrase. Love that. How do you think you would like to be remembered? What do you think you'd like your legacy to be?
Alive. No, my legacy would be just to let people feel about me the way that other people spoke and felt about my dad. There was over 800 people at the funeral. You know, it was in the Lancashire Evening Post. Yeah, they came and all the pictures. It was like they took a footage of it. A lot of people.
Whoa.
My dad everyone loved my dad.
Yeah,
loved him. He was a people's person.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere he went, he would just have people swarming to listening to his story. Go into a bar, you see him swarm. When I used to go and look for my dad, if I was in Jamaica, look down the bars, or in England, and he said he's somewhere, I'd just go to where there's a crowd of people. No word of a lie. There'd be him in the middle of these people. That's all he did all day long. With his big cheesy smile on his face, and the high cheekbones, and like ha ha ha, you know. So that's it. Just that's who I want to emulate, and it'd be nice for other people just to smile through everything. Life is not easy for some, maybe, but not for everybody. But just because it's not easy doesn't mean you have to wear it visibly on the outside. Because by wearing it visibly on the outside, you automatically bring it inside.
Yes.
What you emulate, is what's going to show. If you show that, do you know what? Even though it's tough and you push through it, you're going to get goodness. You're going to get great things coming your way. You will. It's inevitable, but it's believing in that. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. What do you think are some of your core personal values?
Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Yeah.
100%. If you don't want someone to be rude to you, don't be rude to them. If you don't want to wait on someone, don't be late.
Yeah.
That's
it.
You know, don't complain. Don't be a hypocrite in life.
Yeah.
I see so many hypocrites.
Yeah.
it's like really? But me being me, I'm like, okay.
Nah, it's a really good message, that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Nice. How do you define success? What does success look like for you?
Success to me is so different than anyone else, because when I hear a lot of people talk about success, they're talking monetary, talking things. But for me, it isn't. Success is carrying on my father's legacy. That's it. Success for me is making my children happy. Success for me is not going backwards where my dad left me off. You know, where he put me on the path and not falling down, tumbling back down the path, but getting further up the path to the greener orchards as opposed to the wilting wildernesses. You know, that's what it is for me. Every time I see pictures with trees, green trees, whatever trees there may be, I see an image of my dad.
Really?
Because I'm going towards the trees. I'm not going back to the dark. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Who or what inspires you?
Oh, you know the answer to that.
I thought so. Yeah.
Every day. Seriously, if I have a conversation in my head, my conversation's answered back by my dad.
Yeah.
Because he used to lecture me all the time about life lessons. At the time, I thought there were lectures. Actually, I was just being prepared. So when people say they've got coaches and mentors and everything else, I advocate that. I think it's highly important. You need that. You need someone to give you accountability. You need someone to be selfless and tell you the right things and guide you in the right way. But for me, because he did that so much all day, every day, drilling it was like a drill sergeant with these philosophical words like shortcuts don't make it. So, do you know what I mean? Don't look for the easiest option out. Never too late for a shower of rain. So even if you don't get it today, there's tomorrow, there's a day after, it's going to come, just take time. And then don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. Be strategic, just hold on, you know, it's like, whoa, Nelly, you know, and then think and say, okay, I now know really why you asked me that question. It wasn't because of that answer you wanted, but if I'd jumped into it and I've answered it incorrectly, do you see what I mean? So Take your time with things. So all these things, so anytime I've got a dilemma, any dilemma, my head answers it, but it's my dad answering it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
You know, I can have a full-blown conversation about something and how I need to deal with it just from hearing him constantly going round in my head.
It's amazing that he's had such a positive impact on your life. I think that's just brilliant. You know?
I think I'm actually Errol Bennett, that's what I think. Itching to get out of a woman's body.
do you think you'd ever write a book about your story?
Actually, I've been asked so many times about this, and the answer was no, wouldn't know where to start. Actually, I am going to.
Yeah.
And actually, I have written a book now. It's not that one. It's a completely different book. It's soon to come out.
Brilliant.
It's through the final editing stages. So there will be a book completely not what anyone's expecting.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is coming out soon. So
Brilliant.
watch this space.
Yeah. We look forward to that. That's great. Good stuff. What are some of your main goals, or what's your sort of 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself going?
Be alive.
Yeah.
My 5-year plan is not to lose my voice.
Okay.
I actually have lost my voice, and
I think I saw something on Facebook about that quite recently. Yeah.
And I was literally going to speak at the University of Central Lancashire the next day, and then I had a workshop as well. It's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, but I actually lozenged it up and got through. So yeah, as long as my voice is there, I'm all right. If my voice goes, I'm stuck, can't I, really? Because I'm a chatterbox, and people, for some reason, like to hear me talk and like to hear me carry on talking and on and on and on. And I talk from 20 minutes to an hour and a half, whatever they ask me to. And there you go. Yeah, actually, honestly, I do bore myself.
Really?
When I don't like monotonous tones.
Okay.
And I teach people how to come out of the monotonous tone.
Yeah.
I can hear sometimes I'm on a one tone. That's when I bore myself, when you're reciting something and it's at that level. But when I step it up a gear and change my tone, I excite myself all over again.
Yeah.
And I feel the room light up with it, so I'm happy.
But you genuinely do have that sort of, the energy that comes out of you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just...
Undiagnosed ADHD, probably.
It has its pluses.
There you go.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice? Gosh. Do you know what? One of the best pieces of advice, actually, and it has helped me, in fact, the way I respond and behave, is that my dad said to me that even if you're right, if you interrupt somebody, you're always going to be wrong. Yeah. So that means don't talk over anybody, let them finish, because the answer or the response that they may be ended up giving you may be what you wanted to hear anyway. But by interrupting them, it might pee them off, and they might then take it all back, and it's not yours anymore. You talk yourself out of something. And when you do that as well, it gives yourself time to process things properly and understand the conversation that you're both having.
Yeah.
You know, not your perceived conversation. And that's what I find where a lot of people go wrong. They preempt what someone's thinking or saying before they actually find out wholeheartedly what it is. And that could stop a lot of arguments in life with lots of people if they just took the time and waited for people to finish. That's it.
Yeah. Good stuff. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to pursue speaking or go into kind of public speaking? Okay,
my advice is, it might sound brutal, just because you know a topic doesn't mean you're a speaker. Just because everyone can speak doesn't mean you're a speaker. A speaker is somebody that can talk and change the direction, somebody who can enthrall and hold a room, someone who can read a room, someone who has that desire to have a message at the end of it instead of just me. Have to have some value. So reason why I blend business and the incident and everything else, because I believe that you need to learn from it, not a case of just hear a sob story. Sounds awful to call it that, but that's what people will call it. You know, woe is me story, whatever they want to call it, I don't care. It's a reality, it's my reality. You know, it happened. But I don't want to hear myself just talk about that. I want to hear about how can that incident help me to help somebody else, help as a benchmark, you know, going forward. So a true speaker gives value in the message, in my eyes. So if you want to be a speaker, you need to learn to structure. You need to listen to yourself. You need to record yourself. You need to learn to take constructive criticism. You need to hear the feedback. And if you don't take the feedback, then you're not going to excel and change as a speaker. You know, there's lots of things you need to do. You need to just, knowing the right people too helps, but being open, you know, to changes, because at the last minute, I have people changing my topics on the day.
Seriously?
On the day, as I'm just walking up to speak. Yeah, you're going to have to be able to. You've got to learn if someone throws a curveball question at you to be able to answer that. That's a true speaker. A true speaker can answer anything and everything that you're on that stage for. Not just saying your story or whatever it is and then that's it. No, a true speaker is able to then blend it back to whatever the topic was. So, for instance, the change management one just the other day. Well, I had to change my thought processes. That's my change management. And you have to embrace change. And you have to learn to structure things effectively. So, you know, you can blend it back to the story. So when I was having to sit and when my dad was having this the autopsy and hearing them saw his chest open and the blood coming past my feet, and I had to change my mindset, being pregnant, do you know what I mean? And focus on the task at hand, that this needs to be done to go forward. There's certain things you have to dot the I's and cross the T's first before going forward. Do you see what I mean? It's always a lesson, but not just talking about, oh, well, my dad was just cut open and the blood was going past my feet, and then they didn't strap the actual trolley down, and they were just going backwards and forwards in this vehicle when we was going back to the mortuary, you know, all these things. You know, I could just say that and then that's it. But I'm not going to, because that's not a real speaker, you know, and that's it, you know. Learn to go and do some workshops, hear yourself, go through the process, because it is really, you'd surprise yourself what you pick up, you know. I've got techniques I teach people how to then engage the room, and even the gestures, how they have the hand motions, how they use the power words, the buzzword, everything, it all has to marry. And you have to be aware when you're speaking also. You have to be aware to change the direction. You have to, by looking into people's eyes, if they're switching off, if they're more engrossed, that you know they want to hear more of that. Or they want to, you know, you've got to learn to, I don't ever prepare my speeches, ever.
Really?
Ever. I did it once, and I hated it. I got good feedback, which is fine, but it, for me, wasn't good enough. And from that moment on, I don't do PowerPoint presentations. I don't use cards. I've never used cards anyway. I don't use cards, you know. If you're a true speaker, in my eyes, if you're a true speaker, you know your craft. You know it without having to look at anything in front of you. It just resonates from within you. Because if you eat, sleep and breathe it, and it's somebody who's versed on it, then you should just be able to talk about it at a drop of a hat, without any cue cards, nothing at all, no pointers. That's it. That's a true speaker. Do you see Tony Robbins with cue cards or anything? So think about it. Think about it as a speaker. You speakers out there, think about it. Do you see the great speakers standing there with the cue cards?
I know.
To rest my case.
Exactly.
You know. That's it. So there's certain things that they just need to be aware that it isn't just about blah, 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 words coming out of your mouth. It's not just about that. That's not being a speaker. That is speaking, not being a speaker. So, a bit brutal, I told you.
It's brilliant, though. No, honestly, it's really, really good advice.
But be uniquely you is what I say. I say it as it is. You don't like it, I'll get over it. It's not going to kill me. Obviously not. Other things that kill me. Do you reckon this is going to kill me?
Great answer. Great, really, honestly. That was absolutely brilliant. If you had the opportunity to speak to the 20-year-old you, what would you say?
I'd probably slap myself, not even just talk to myself. To the 20-odd-year-old me, I'd tell myself stop going to Napa all the time. Do you know what I would do? I would say, when you get to that age, don't let your dad go to Jamaica. That's it.
Yeah. That
was it. That's the only thing I would do. You know, I wouldn't be saying, oh, go and buy a lottery scratch card. Who cares? Money's money. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For me, if I had my dad back now and we were sleeping rough on the streets of London, streets of Edinburgh for that matter, wouldn't matter to me. As long as I had my dad, I'd forfeit everything I have for my dad. Everything. Except for my children. Yeah. So, yeah.
If you could change anything in the world, what would it be and why?
Anything in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously, apart from the obvious, compassion. I would contaminate all the water in the world with compassion.
Jeez, okay.
Yeah. Seriously. With a walk a mile in my shoes, compassion juice.
Yes. Yeah. Why do you think the world needs more compassion?
Have you seen the wars? Have you seen the pettiness? Have you seen the competitive streaks out there? When people should really be focusing on synergy? Come on, in my head it's like a no-brainer, but the world is not like that. It's like, where's all the common sense gone?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, compassion, it really you do need, and in that way, we'd all be safe. And then nobody would be hurting anybody, and you can sleep in your house at night without wondering, is someone going to burgle my house tonight with me in it? Someone going to thief my car off the drive? Is someone going to hurt my children when they're out there? You know, compassion goes a very long way.
Yeah.
Worldwide, even better.
Yeah.
Do you reckon we can do it? We can.
Maybe. You never know. You speak to enough people, eventually.
Networking works.
Yeah. They use the word synergy. I've heard you use that before. It's a really good word. It's an underused word.
Very underused, because a lot of people are afraid to have synergy.
Yeah.
People attack other people and what they do because they're afraid of them. That's it. The reason why I say that is because if they weren't afraid of them and if they weren't in fear of them, they'd be comfortable in what they're doing themselves and wouldn't have the time to worry about anybody else. They just get on with their own lane and deal with what they've got to deal with.
Yeah.
People spend far too much time worrying about what anyone else is doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like today, I've just posted someone's having their workshop on the exact same day as mine, at the same time, and I've posted it on my timeline. And what? Because at the end of the day, it's about synergy. And there's plenty more people in the world, apart from probably the 10 or 12 maybe that's going on his or mine or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
It's not going to, I keep saying, if it's not going to kill you, do you know what I mean? Just come together. Gosh. When you've got that death threat over you, then come back and tell me about competition.
Yeah. Exactly, I know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough one. Another thing I find out there is that people try and have a competition against me about all the things I've been through. Because I've been through a lot more than this. In my 20s, I was physically attacked in my own house, and the perpetrator served 3 years in jail. So yeah, so I've gone through a heck of a lot more than just this. So I have people saying, oh, well, I've gone through a lot more than what you have. And I'm stood there thinking, okay, good, great. In my mind, I'm like, good, okay.
Unbelievable that people would even say that. Like, how ridiculous.
If that makes you feel better, roll with it. Roll with it. You know, I'm easygoing.
Oh.
It's not a competition. God,
precisely.
I wish I didn't go through a lot of these things.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Oh, dear. Zoe, I've loved speaking to you. It's been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for being so open and honest and sharing so much about your story. I know it, in spite of the fact that you probably said it a number of times, it can't get any easier. So I'm really grateful for that. And thank you for just some incredible insights and advice. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Yay. And it's a lovely place you've got here. It's amazing.
Thanks so much.
No problem.
Brilliant. Zoe, thank you so much. Cheers.